I've got balls of steel.
Welcome everybody to BrainStorming.
All right.
Yeah, because I don't remember the intro and how it goes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop off the beginning of all that, and you're gonna plug the music in, and you know we're gonna.
Well, we are gonna say there's a battle on for your brain.
Oh yeah, that whole part.
So.
Let your brain evolve.
Yeah, cool.
I do remember that.
It ain't been too long.
It's been a while. We haven't done a episode of BrainStorming since December.
All right, so here comes the music. So that's just for the audio section.
Yeah, because I forget how long the music is.
Yeah, the music's like 30 seconds long, but of course there's no music now other than the background weird music I got playing on my video game that I never turned off, so maybe I should turn off.
Yeah, way to be burning energy and saying fuck the environment and fuck the future. What are you doing, Nick?
Motherfucker, I'm on solar.
Don't you want to leave a planet, you know, for the kids?
I'm on stolar, meaning I stole somebody else's solar.
Are you serious?
No, that would be nice though. My buddy went a year straight. The power company turned off his power, and he went a year straight stealing power from the light bulb outside his front door.
That is funny as hell.
He got one of the things that you can screw into it, and it makes your light bulb a plug as well. And you can still put a light bulb in it. And he just plugged in an extension cord when he was home. And when he left for the day in the morning, you know, he'd unplug his extension cord. There'd be no power running in his house. It was nice, and it was actually, like, felt better in his house that there wasn't, like, power running through the walls. It's almost like you could feel the lightness. It was a little bit lighter, almost like it affected you a little bit. And it affects everybody, and they don't even realize it, you know, until you go into somewhere that's abandoned. But then you get that, oh, this is creepy, it's abandoned. Well, maybe it's not really creepy. Maybe you're just not feeling the power that's flowing through most buildings, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Sense.
But, Brian, we got some fucking updating to do. We got some, we're bringing the storm back. You know what I'm saying? The storm is back. It's been at least a few months.
I think when we first, we did an episode of 3NN first week of January.
Yeah.
And I really, at the time, wasn't sure if we were ever going to come back to this topic, but...
And you don't even probably need to watch that show. You could probably watch this show and get... Because that show, you can watch...
That show was right after it started, and there was a lot of bad information going around.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That show will be corrected by this show. So if you want to watch that show, make sure you watch this show afterwards. Or you can just watch this show and get a pretty good idea of the whole entire situation that went down in Oregon, you know? Because if you're someone who's had your head under a rock for the past month and a half or 2 months, then you might not know anything about this. So, for the...
RT picked it up just like 2 days ago. They mentioned it briefly here and there throughout, but never anything.
Well, that's also what was weird about the whole entire thing, that it wasn't... And maybe it was, because I don't watch those channels, like, I don't watch them religiously, or I refuse to watch them for more than 5 minutes at a time, 5 or 10 minutes at a time. But I don't even, like, I saw MSNBC, CNN, all the mainstream news channels very slightly mentioning it, but not going into...
Okay, let me ask you this, because I didn't really watch much of the mainstream. To you, did it seem like they were trying to make him out... What were they trying to... What picture were they painting of Ammon Bundy and his posse? How are they portraying him, basically?
It depends. Fox was kind of portraying them as, like, American heroes that were still kind of terrorists, and everybody else was treating them like they were American terrorists. But, hey, remember, we didn't say terrorists. We said American terrorists. These motherfuckers are still American. So there was, like, contradiction and shit there, but they were treating them as if these guys were, like, kind of terrorists, redneck nut jobs, and all of a sudden they kind of... a lot of people might disagree with me, but Al-Qaeda came up as a...
and also Vanilla ISIS.
I think the media helped push that, because a lot of times I just heard them being ridiculed. Not criticized, ridiculed as almost being a joke, you know? So they were treated as American terrorists, but almost as much as an American terrorist can really be inside this country, which is just a ridicule and a joke. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're an American terrorist who's actually killed a whole shitload of people, well, then you're actually just a murderer.
Which these guys did not do.
You're inside this country and you're an American terrorist killing a bunch of motherfuckers? Well, no, then we just call you a murderer. We don't call you an American terrorist. So I guess that's the closest thing that an American terrorist can actually be. But that's kind of a joke. So they treated it as if it was a joke, which calling somebody an American terrorist is, but the whole situation itself was not a joke, which they tried to make it into and tried to act like it was just a bunch of conspiracy theorist type of guys that had held up inside of this place, and eventually are going to get arrested. That's basically
Yeah.
how the media first portrayed it. And then my cable got cut off, and I really don't know. Well, maybe I didn't pay attention for a few days or a week or something, and then my cable got cut off. So it's been like however long my cable's been off, which has been like 2 or 3 weeks plus a week. So I don't know.
Anybody actually watching this, Nick did not really get to see or hear anything about how Oregon ended until I talked to him a few days afterwards and was telling him about it.
I heard a dude got shot. That was it. I heard that a dude got shot, but then there was speculation like a day later, you know.
Okay. Well, I'll say we were talking about the other episode that was kind of shitty and kind of wrong, but one thing we did get right was the BLM's been screwing people and trying to steal their land.
Wait, Black Lives Matter? No, that's the stupidest
Bureau of
thing
Land
I've ever
Management.
said.
Don't even...
All right, Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, we hit that pretty heavy on that. This guy, Robert Lavoie Finicum, was having his own issues with the BLM. And he made his YouTube videos about it. He wrote a book that actually the last guy out of the refuge, The Final Morning, David Fry, helped him get it published. That's how they met. But it was kind of really almost blatantly obvious to people that understand how our government works that they killed him for a reason. But we'll get into that momentarily. Because, real quick, of course, started January 2nd, 2016. That started as a peaceful protest, and then Bundy and Ryan Payne and Blaine Cooper and everybody went down to the refuge. But it just ended on... What was the actual date of the ending? Was it the 7th or something like that?
I don't even know.
I have to scroll all the way down on this slow-ass freaking...
I thought it was recently, like last week.
It was recently, 10th.
Okay.
10th and 11th.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah. But what I did was I took my show notes from the last show and corrected them and just added more to them, so it's a lot of shit on here right now.
Nice.
Trying to sort through. But it was kind of... What do you think of that, first off the bat? Well, we'll talk briefly on the BLM, because some people might not know, hearing about them for the first time. They basically have no real constitutional authority to even exist.
Yeah, no, I don't even know how they came about as an organization. I would almost like to just take a shot in the dark and say it was for, again, a David Rockefeller creation. Probably not, but you never even know.
Would it surprise you in the least?
No, it wouldn't surprise me. In all reality, I think it probably came about after the United States went bankrupt in, 1931 or 1932, and we ended up with our Social Security number system and all that, and we were collateral. Yep. And I think it probably came about with that as a way to manage the land so that it can be delegated and covertly sold off to other nations and other interests. Maybe
China.
Nations, because it's hard to really sell your land to another nation, because then that nation wants to use that land and maybe even put up their own flag, and then it's not necessarily your nation anymore.
Yeah, that's almost like Red Dawn without the paratroopers.
Exactly, which we actually just sold some land to China so that they could preserve it. But that's what I really think the Bureau of Land Management is it's a way to basically collect as much of public land, which is supposed to be, this land is your land, this land is my land. Well, the BLM wanted to add on to this song, no, this land is BLM land.
Right. Well, I wasn't familiar with them. We're on the East Coast. We're in Riverside, New Jersey, so I wasn't really familiar with them until the Bundy Ranch standoff in 2014.
What I definitely know about the BLM is they're much more active. I don't want to say prevalent, but much more active because they're prevalent throughout the entire country. But they're much more active in your western states that have much more open, expansive areas.
With minerals like uranium in the soil.
Yeah, of course. We have a lot of minerals up here. Here's the problem with up here. We're populated up here. We're extremely populated up here. We're densely populated in the Northeast. And all along the East Coast, all down the East Coast, down to Florida, we're pretty densely populated, other than the middle. You get to Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. There's some parts that aren't too populated. But I guarantee you BLM is all over those parts. But I've seen them out in the West where they literally take control of large expanses of land for preservation reasons. But then the preservation reasons quickly turn into, well, how can we rape and pillage this land, and what kind of resources are here? Well, now this is the government's land to use for resources, and we can allow this company to come in, whether it's the government using, say, a lot of people think, oh, well, the government's not going to use those resources, steal those resources. Okay, the government itself might not, but the government has contracts with, or not contracts, but has inside deals with certain companies and big companies.
And on that, I just want to remind everybody that famous Article 1, Section 8 paragraph of the Constitution that Santilli always references, just to remind everybody to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 square miles. That's your Washington, D.C., and by cession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States to exercise authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. So they have to basically be building either a base or an arsenal or something like that to justify taking that land.
Yeah, no, and they've completely subverted that and done what they want to do instead of what they're constitutionally supposed to be able to do. You know, they are going to take that land and use it for what they want to use it for. And it's really to take it out of the hands of the people. It's really a giant ploy. That's the grand end game for BLM, is to try and literally steal as much land as they can.
They're like the Agenda 21 stormtroopers coming in saying, go, just go.
And I'm sure there's somebody out there that is interested, but what I guarantee you 99.9% of people interested in this situation haven't really thought about is, I wonder how Native Americans have been affected by the BLM, because this sounds a lot like something that could happen to a Native American 50 or 100 years ago.
Well, I don't have the exact date pulled up. The BLM formed in like the 80s or 90s. I forget exactly when off the top of my head. But a lot of these ranches, like the Bundy Ranch and the Hammonds, a lot of these go back to like the 1800s. Before the BLM existed, they had the exclusive rights to that land.
BLM might have been created so that if people sue, it's almost like a level of protection for the government. You know, the people have to sue BLM and can't sue the government, and for constitutional...
Well, you know, I think it's bullshit that the BLM dress like Blackwater mercenaries with no labeling and just say, I'm a federal agent, get the fuck out of here.
Well, more than likely, there's also a very good chance that they weren't actual BLM officers. They were a company or a outfit like Blackwater. That they basically
Blackwater, Blackstone, whatever the hell they call themselves now.
When you found out that there was Blackwater in Iraq and shit like that were basically U.S. soldiers, and it's like, hold on, they never had to go through the United States screening process. They never had to go through the United States. Yeah, Blackwater can say they answer
to who pays them. They're a mercenary unit.
Exactly, and it's like, how do we know that, especially something like BLM, which doesn't normally, I'm not saying it doesn't ever, but doesn't normally have to strong arm anybody. They can usually just use their legal and economic tactics to kind of force somebody out of the land that they want. You know what I'm saying? And into their own hands. But what happens when they have to strong arm somebody? They don't really actually have a military force. They either contract a U.S. military force or somebody like Blackwater, and they throw on BLM vests and say, we're federal agents. Get the fuck out of here, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. But I really
that's what they tried to basically do at the Bundy Ranch, I think.
Yeah.
I mean...
And that's why that's why an incident like Waco can so easily happen, because you don't actually have trained people. But then again, maybe that's why something like Waco didn't happen and all of those motherfuckers aren't dead, because maybe it was actually a trained outfit, and they might have been calling themselves federal agents, but maybe it was a trained, I don't know why I keep saying outfit, but maybe it was a trained organization that actually wasn't trained just shoot to kill. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't trained just to handle a situation with violence and with force. You know what I'm saying? Hence maybe why the only time somebody died was when they got pulled over. by the police, was it? Was it the police? Or
it was a joint operation between FBI and Oregon State Police, is what they're saying.
Ah, you see that? And the BLM wasn't even involved. The BLM might have just been the daddy making
There's been
the call.
videos on YouTube of people there.
Well, of course, the BLM was somewhat involved.
They're dressed like soldiers, no labeling, nothing whatsoever. People walk up, question them, so who do you work for? Who are you here representing? Oh, we're here to solve the problem. Oh, who do you work for? Right over there, and they'll point to like an Oregon State Police truck. Right. Okay, so you're state police? I didn't say that. Right. Like it's like they never confirmed who they worked for, and that's worrisome because we need to know who's out there pointing guns at us on our streets.
I mean, if you're some sort of military, unless you're like, see, the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, well, with UFO type stuff and shit like that, if there's a crashed UFO or something, the guys that are going to come out there, they ain't going to tell you who they work for, and they ain't going to tell you shit about what's going on, right? Or what they're doing there. They ain't going to tell you shit other than get the fuck out of here, right?
True.
But this isn't some UFO shit. This is some shit that's been televised, that there's plenty of people covering, that there's news coverage on, there's news stories, but really, you know what I'm saying? It's not some, so it really makes me think that it's not some super secretive government agency. It's some organization that's been hired by the BLM to come out there and basically secure the area.
And this is coming from someone who hasn't watched any of it, and that's what I took from it, from the video.
$80,000 a year because the BLM has contracted my company or whatever, and I'm working for this company, and I luck out like that, and they say one of the main things here is, anybody asks you anything, you're not allowed to say a word. Not allowed to make a peep about what we know.
And they're not even leaving town. Burns, Oregon has MRAPs and tanks and soldiers with random checkpoints just...
Do you think maybe they thought...
I'm wondering if that's a pre-Jade Helm thing. That's going to be a future episode.
Maybe they thought that with the way everything went down, or that they thought that everything would go down a little bit more dramatic? Do you think that they thought there would be militias from around the country, like, we're going to support the Bundys, or we're going to support that movement? And
there were definitely provocateurs pushing for that.
Of course there was provocateurs pushing for that.
It didn't really happen.
And maybe there's still
a lot of the militia stood down.
You know?
There was something different about this than the Bundy Ranch. For one thing, they went to another state they weren't even from. So, I mean, the Bundy Ranch was a little different because they're there, they're these ranchers at their home, and these guys are coming in and killing their cows.
What if this was all a staged event? But, because I know it's happened before, there's been staged events where the people that are involved have no idea that they're involved in a staged event. They're basically being puppeted and can't even see the strings that are being...
A false flag within a false flag.
A false flag within a false flag, within a dream, within a conniption, within a false flag, within a daydream, Brian. That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, no, seriously. What if there's some of the main people that were involved in the whole Oregon standoff were actually manipulated from a very... Think about the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The guy who, the whole entire time, he was being helped by an FBI agent. Yeah, he knew that it was some sort of a government agent. But imagine if the same kind of thing happened with this situation, and whoever these people are dealing with don't know that they're dealing with government agents. Or shit has gotten so sophisticated to the point where they can literally kind of direct you, whether it's with MK Ultra type shit or whether it's just with propaganda and, well, we know that, we know who the Bundys are in contact with, or we know that they're open to talk to people on Facebook, and we know we can pose as this person and that person and kind of direct them and give them false information and some true information so they know that we're not full of shit, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how do we know that this whole entire thing was not concocted for some reaction? Problem, reaction, solution.
Well,
they created.
Well, here,
problem.
You know what?
They're waiting for a reaction.
Well, here's your reaction to that. If it was in retaliation to the militia and the feds from the Bundy Ranch standoff, that makes sense because all the major people, as we predicted on the other episode, it came to be where everyone who was at the Bundy Ranch and had any major role in that ended up there in Oregon, and most of them are sitting in prison right now, including Cliven Bundy.
Can I go crazy for just 30 seconds? Not crazy, but I mean like a little out there for 30 seconds.
Oh, sure.
Do you ever think
When don't we?
that the U.S. government, and if you watch enough Unsolved Mysteries and Wacky Wednesday shit on YouTube and weird shit, like paranormal type of shit, right? You looked into enough Ripley's Believe It or Not books. Do you ever believe that maybe, just maybe, I got one of my hairs in my mouth, maybe, just maybe, the United States government or some sort of shadow part of the government has access to a time machine? And they look into the future once or twice a year. And when they look into the future, they don't just look, okay, we got 1 year ahead. Maybe it's fixed, maybe it's not. Maybe they can look 1, 5, 10 years ahead.
You're going way out there
change
now.
it. But exactly, it is going way out. But what if they can just look into the future? And they looked into the future a year ago, and they saw a revolution 5 years from now. And who's at the head of that revolution? Holy shit, it's Ammon Bundy. He stirred everybody up. Or maybe not Ammon Bundy, but something from the whole Bundy shit started this whole revolution, this whole thing, and the government just thought, we'll just let them go. We'll let them get people riled up. That's what we want. And then all of a sudden they looked 10 years into the future, and after 10 years, the revolution was successful. The old U.S. government is completely gone. The military-industrial complex has been dismantled. The United States government that we once knew is no longer. The United States Republic that we once knew is back. And they're like, holy fuck, we're going to lose everything. Holy fuck, what do we do? Here's what we do. We set up Ammon Bundy and his whole fucking crew, and after a 6-month ordeal, after a year ordeal, we lock them all up. You know what I'm saying? That's all. We get them all locked up. We got our justified reasons. It wasn't like they didn't do anything to deserve it. We'll make sure we'll wait for them to do something to deserve it. We lock them all up instead of just sitting back on our asses and like let them get people riled up. We'll lock them up. We'll see how this Black Lives Matter things. There's no such thing as coincidence in my mind. And BLM with the Bureau of Land Management and BLM with Black Lives Matter all in the same fucking year, there's no such thing as coincidence in my fucking mind. Maybe that's what it is. So let's let the black people get riled up because they'll just destroy shit and go around and we'll have a reason to come in and put everybody in fucking FEMA camps or at least to fucking instill martial law. If we let this fucking Bundy shit go, a fucking actual intelligent, logical fucking revolution may actually stir up. And people's fucking gun rights, people are going to start standing up for their gun rights. After this shit, that's what could have happened. The gun issue could have been pushed to a whole nother level. Right now, the gun issue, as far as the pulse of the nation, has not fucking budged because of the Oregon shit. Has not budged. So maybe it was going to budge, and they looked in the future and were like, we can't let it budge, because then people will start realizing they have the right to have their guns, and they're not going to listen to us say, we're coming to take your guns, or we should have the right to take your gun, or decide if you can have a gun. It's like, you don't decide that, fucking our founders decided that shit. Alright? So I don't know, Brian. That's going out there. But what if we have time travel and we knew that the Bundys were a fucking key part in the fucking in the
future revolution
universe? You know what I'm saying? In the space-time continuum, they needed to be stopped because if they weren't stopped in the space-time continuum said that they were going to lead the revolution. And they're like, no. Whoever the shadow government is like, well, we won't even be around if the Republic is back. The Republic doesn't want a shadow government fucking behind the scenes running certain shit. So we kind of need to squash this shit from the get-go. Let's set up the Bundys and call up the NSA. Let's start hacking their Facebook. Let's start getting all up in their shit. Let's get personal with them. Let's see if we can get a couple provocateurs in there to see if they can maybe take over some sort of a government building. It probably started off as like a city hall and then fucking worked its way down to fucking a clerk's office, down to the fucking refuge where there's nobody at anyway, you know what I'm saying? But if we can get them just to fucking take over a federal building, then we got them right where we want them. We got them on our fucking property. They didn't even think about that. They're surrounded by federal fucking property. There's not one fucking farmer that can say, no, they're allowed to come on my land because this is my land, not the BLM's land, not the federal government's land. This is my land, and I want to fucking help these people, and I want to shelter these people. No, they were surrounded by federal land. You know what I'm saying? So the federal government's like, if we get them surrounded in our fucking house, that's like bringing somebody into your house. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's in your house, you can do whatever you want to them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that depends what state you're in, actually. Legally speaking, because you get to, I think it's...
If we're talking about time travel, there's no legal.
All those would be abolished at that point, probably.
It's a paradox. No, I don't know. All right, hey, we're
Well,
good.
damn.
So,
Fuck the BLM is what we take from that.
Fuck the BLM, but I'm telling you, there's some sort of connection. Maybe it'll come out later on. Maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I'm full of shit. I don't know. But BLM, Black Lives Matter, and Bureau of Land Management, there's no such thing as coincidence, Brian. There's some sort of fucking connection there.
Yeah, probably so when people go, oh, Cliven Bundy's talking about the BLM, let me go Google BLM. Oh, he's dissing Black Lives Matter.
Or does the BLM try and claim Ferguson as their own? And all of a sudden you got BLM versus BLM.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? BLM versus BLM, Bureau of Land Management thugs versus Black Lives Matter protesters and peaceful, awesome people. Yeah, I can see it happening now. Worlds collide, bro.
I could see it too. Honestly, the way this government works, I could see it too. It's sad.
I got like a running sitcom of how the country should be right now going in my head, and that's part of it. Is BLM versus BLM. It's like fucking Sunday, come on down to Ferguson, Missouri. Watch BLM take on the BLM.
It's like when WCW did the old New World Order black and white versus the New World Order red and black.
Yeah, exactly. then Donald Trump will zip down from the rafters into the middle of everything and say, hold on, boys, you're all stupid, you're all idiots. I can't even do a good Donald Trump right now.
That
Rosie
sounded more
O'Donnell
like Sanders.
Rosie O'Donnell is a loser. There you go.
You sound like Bernie Sanders.
Rosie O'Donnell is a loser. Is a loser. There you go. She's a loser. Rosie O'Donnell is a loser. And then all of a sudden you have fucking Bernie Sanders coming in. Socialism is the way. I'll tell you what, socialism is the way. Give everybody a paycheck. Take care, everybody.
Oh, wow.
It's turning into it's a circus, dude.
It really is.
You could probably start a circus right now and take all of the main political and entertainment figures, or at least a play or some sort of Broadway show or some shit. Take all the main political and entertainment figures and cultural figures of the past year and the next year, right? And put them all together and have literally the funniest, like, Monty Python's type fucking show in the world. You know? I don't know. Or at least get them doing something like Circus Olay. You know, that would be pretty cool too. Get them all tripping you out.
Actually, that'd be interesting. That'd be about as entertaining as the debates I've been watching.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see
I haven't seen many of them, but the ones I did watch, I'm like, this is a joke.
I've been wanting to see the debates, and then I hear about them the next day, and I'm like, I'm pretty happy I didn't see that debate. I'm pretty happy I didn't see that fucking nonsense.
Dude, there was the one in New Hampshire where Sanders destroyed Hillary and she ended up winning on a coin flip or some bullshit.
Oh, no, that was the primary, dude.
Oh, no, there was one in New Hampshire that...
There's a debate that he won. Yeah, no, because...
that he clearly won.
Hillary is being
They're pushing Hillary so freaking hard. They want Hillary so bad.
Option. Bernie is not... I'm not saying he's not a better option. Definitely is than Hillary.
Dude, I would vote for a full bag of that hamster's shit before I'd vote for Hillary Clinton.
They're both turds, though. But Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are both turds, you know what I'm saying? I think about Hillary Clinton and I think, oh my God, we'd have another Clinton in the White House, and it's like, I think about the country and the times that this country has really, like, gone down the shitter, and people were duped into thinking that the country was on its way to prosperity, was when we had the Clinton. When we had fucking George Clinton. When we had George Clinton in there in the White House.
Things would be a lot different if we had George Clinton in the White House.
Camacho came in and fucking everything changed, I'll tell you what. And we started putting Gatorade on the crops, we started putting Brondo on the crops, and everything got better. I'll tell you what.
It's going that way.
It is going that way.
Idiocracy is not a comedy, it's a documentary. I say it every day.
Dude, this shit's a fucking circus.
It's a documentary of the future of this nation, the way it's going.
Yeah, so... I don't know, Brian. The Oregon situation is... you know what I also think about with the Oregon situation? I don't know if you remember in not Loose Change. What the fuck was the Michael Moore 9/11 movie?
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit 9/11. Michael Moore. And I honestly, I think it's bullshit looking back on it, but I remember thinking, like, what? That's insane. That they had one state trooper, Oregon had one state trooper that was on duty at all times. Like, I think they had like 2 or 3 state troopers total, but they had one state trooper that was on duty at all times for like the whole entire top half of the state or some shit. And it was like, what? One state trooper to police the top half
That makes
of a
no
state?
sense.
It does make no sense. If you see Fahrenheit 9/11, there's a part in that movie where that's exactly what they say. They literally, like, it's either the whole entire state of Oregon or, like, the top half of Oregon that there was one trooper to patrol the entire state. So if there was a call 100 miles away, he's got to drive 100 miles away. You know what I'm saying? If there's a call 300 miles away, and it's just for, hey, if there's somebody snooping around this person's house, can you come check it out? They'd have to make the call, like, they wouldn't tell the person that, but there's no point in driving 300 miles away to check and see if somebody's snooping around somebody's house. By the time we get there, they could have the house robbed and done. And if they didn't rob the house, we just wasted all the gas of going out to this place to see nothing. You know what I'm saying? To check out nothing. They had to, like, and I don't know if it was bullshit or not, but it, like, really made me think about Oregon as being, like, a place where all hell could break loose. You know, and it's funny that here we are 15 years later, 15 years after I saw that documentary, and it's a shit documentary now in the grand scope of things, but at the time I liked it. But thinking about it, it's like all hell could have broke loose. I thought about that when it came to the Oregon situation. If there was one perfect place for all hell to break loose, it's Oregon. If it's not near Portland or it's not near, like, fucking one of the cities, and there's not many cities, like big cities in Oregon.
It's like 9 hours from Portland.
Exactly.
8 to 9 hours.
Exactly. All I know about Oregon is it's woods. Woods.
That's what they said. Even this refuge was a 30-mile drive from Burns.
It's and maybe that's the reason it just took so long, because it was just such a pain in the ass to get out to. It's like where they could either fly helicopters out there, but then they'd have to literally come out first and chop down a giant section of trees so that they could have a field to land these helicopters in that was remotely close to this shit. Because even if there was some sort of a field, there could have been trees around that field or some sort of shit about that field, or it could have been uneven or unlevel or some shit like that, where they couldn't really land helicopters there. So everything they had to do there, they had to truck everything the fuck in. You know what I'm saying? So they had to figure out their plan and then truck everything the fuck in. Maybe that's why it took so long, and it wasn't just like, if this was done at the county library, it'd have been over after 2 days, because the trucks and everything can get right there, no problem. Hey, they actually got a hospital 2 blocks away that they can land helicopters on all day and unload fucking materials and shit like that all fucking day. Military can do that. I don't know. I could just be talking out my ass here, Brian. But I don't know. The Oregon situation.
I think it's interesting that a lot of the news networks portrayed them as armed militants. And they were like these armed militant type terrorists, this militia, they're evil. The only people who killed anybody were the FBI.
Well, also think about it this way, Brian. You have to demonize militias if you do end up planning on taking away people's guns, or at least highly restricting people's ability to purchase guns and own guns, and then you decide to actually just literally spit in the face of posse comitatus, and I think that's it, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
put fucking troops on the street. You know what I'm saying? If you're willing to put once they start putting troops on the street.
I did learn a loophole with that from a buddy who's a U.S. Marine who I will not name. He says that if they're invited by the state, it is not a violation of posse comitatus for the National Guard or the Army, and I think he might have named one other thing. I forget now.
Well, who's going to stand up to protect the citizens that feel threatened if all of a sudden there's troops on their streets?
Obviously not their sheriff in this case.
The militias are going to stand up, because the militias know exactly what they're there for, and that's one of the main reasons that they're there, because they have the right to take arms against their government, and the government actually gave them, the Constitution actually gave them that right, just in case some shit like that happened. So yeah, you might have some militias that are like, oh shit man, I'm not sure about this, I just want to go to work, I'm not trying to get arrested, blah blah blah. But you'll also have other militias where every single one of those motherfuckers are like, this is what we're here for, motherfuckers, this is what we're here for, and we're standing up. So maybe you got to find a way to demonize militias and make them seem like just a bunch of rednecks who don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? They just want to wear their Confederate flag.
Oh, yeah,
First we demonize the Confederate flag, then we demonize militias. So when you see a militia coming around with a Confederate flag, holy fuck, it's the end of the world. Al-Qaeda's rolled into town.
I forget where it was. There was somewhere. There was somewhere where they did a shooting. I forget where the fuck it was or who the fuck it was right now, but it was one of those random shootings that you hear about where the killer apparently left the Gadsden flag laying over the body. The old "Don't tread on me" with the snake.
But see, that could be so easily be interpreted as, and I'm sure it has been interpreted as, demonizing the Gadsden flag. Don't tread on me, right?
Because that's also commonly seen.
If I was mentally unstable and my dad had a "Don't tread on me" shirt, or I had a "Don't tread on me" shirt that my grandmom gave me, or my politically active uncle gave me one Christmas or birthday or something, and I didn't really know what the shirt meant, I just liked that it had a snake on it. It said "Don't tread on me." When I asked my parents what "Don't tread on me" meant, it meant "Don't mess with me." So, I'm mentally, I'm not all there mentally, but I know this shirt means "Don't mess with me."
We know you're not all there mentally.
Well, you know what? This guy messed with me too much, and he kept on picking on me, and I'm not talking about this guy's morally right, but he's mentally not right, and morally maybe a little bit off, and he ends up killing somebody because that person always messed with him because he was mentally challenged, right? What's he gonna do? I'll put my don't tread on me shirt on top of you. Don't mess with me. You know, hey, you never know. I know.
I highly doubt that that's what it was.
I just went out into left field and over the fence, and I'm out like making out with some chick in her car, like out in the parking lot. I'm sorry that I did that. Let me get back.
Here's a question for you then, from someone who apparently hasn't seen the footage, because I don't think you've been able to.
My lady.
If you were the FBI and you just shot this guy in cold blood, why would you release video of yourselves doing it?
Yeah, that's.
They publicly held a town meeting and released that footage.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see Lavoie get out of the truck with his hands raised in the air before he gets shot.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. It is pretty perplexing. It's either to stir up a certain reaction.
Let me throw out there also, at that town hall meeting, they clearly stated that we only fired 3 total shots, and the eyewitness testimony of the 2 girls was they got shot at when they first got pulled over, took off, were running from that, and took like over 120 shots after that situation. His family, when they got the corpse, said it had 9 bullet holes in it.
Sometimes in certain situations, right, especially in something like that, I think there might have been somebody involved in that situation who had access to that video and said, if we do not release this video, then I will release this video myself. You know, and it wasn't
drone pilot, maybe
some government agency or something. It was like the local police or like the state police. Like, oh shit, you know what? Like, all right, we're gonna release it, but we're gonna go with our story because it's a little bit.
No, it was FBI that released it.
Exactly.
It was an FBI spokesperson.
All right, so they end up releasing it, or somebody that works for the FBI. That's what I'm saying. Is like there's a mentality out there that everybody that works for the CIA, everybody that works for the NSA, and everybody that works for the FBI or any government agency are like evil, bad people. Maybe there was somebody good involved with this and was like, we're putting this video out. What are you, insane? We're not going to cover this video up. We're not the type of people that do that. We're not the NSA. We're not the CIA. We're the FBI. We're the Federal Bureau of Investigations. We're not the Federal Bureau of hiding our findings, okay? So this is the type of thing, this is kind of a national subject or national news, and we're not going to sway things in our direction by just lying and not putting out any video. You know what? We're going to do the right thing and put out this video. So they said, all right, yeah, we'll put out the video. Sounds good. And then they're like, all right, with that motherfucker out the room, we're doing our own narrative. You might want to put out the video, we're making up our own narrative for the video, and if anybody argues with it, we're going to say, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because that's basically what they did, because they're saying that when his arms were up, since you didn't see the video, his arms were up, and he jerks down and reaches here. They're saying he's reaching for the gun. Everybody who's seen the video thinks his legs buckle, he shakes. He got shot and was reaching for a wound.
People like the FBI and police will release a video like that and expect that everybody that
I'll tell you, it was
sees that
really
video,
low quality footage.
Well, they'll expect
shitty fucking video.
Everybody that sees that video is listening to the FBI or the police and waiting for them to tell them
what happened, not waiting for them to create a discussion or a dialogue of what may have happened. No. They're from the FBI or the police perspective, when they release that, people are looking at them to tell them what happened, not to say, well, that's not what I think happened. No. They think that most people out there, whether it's true or not, they think that most people that see that video and hear what the FBI's story of it is just going to believe the FBI. Like, it might sound stupid, but I've been watching a lot of Unsolved Mysteries UFOs lately, right? And with a lot of things, they'll have not like dead proof, but they'll have great video evidence of a UFO, and then they'll interview somebody that's with the Air Force, and the person with the Air Force is like, no, yeah, especially if it's a nighttime video. No, that actually looks just like a formation of planes tightly packed together. And it's like, you can tell that motherfucker's just talking right out his ass.
Yeah.
But he's like, since I'm the military guy, most people are just going to say, yeah, he probably knows what he's talking about, and dismiss it. And they're like, the military explained it away for us. That's what I think the FBI
kind of like
was
when they
trying to do.
interviewed that one colonel or whatever it was for Jade Helm, and he said, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. That we're not training for the United States." You could look in his face and see he was full of shit.
Yeah. If you can't hide it, just lie through your teeth. You know.
It's
And if all else fails, tell the truth and then cause some major disaster to make everybody forget about it, i.e. fucking Donald Rumsfeld the day before or 2 days before 9/11 talking about we can't find or we can't account for $2 or $3 trillion spent each year in the Defense Department. And it's like, what? Everybody's jaw hits the fucking the table like the fucking fox in the cartoons, right? And then all of a sudden, before they can even pick their jaw up, the fucking World Trade Centers get hit by fucking planes and your jaw falls back down and you completely forgot about the $2 to $3 trillion. And it's like, yo, we'll give you another $5 trillion to lose each year if you take care of the motherfuckers that did this 9/11 shit. You know? It's funny how it works. You know, it's like there's a playbook. Somebody's got.
Oh, there is a playbook.
Other than
There's
silent
gotta be a
weapons
playbook.
other than silent weapons for quiet wars, I think there's there's a dummies guide. You know, fucking being a Zionist NWO shill for dummies. You know.
Yeah, it's called the Mark Dice channel on YouTube.
Could be.
Oh my god.
Makes sense though, man. Makes sense.
Well, here you go. Since we've been doing this show thing for like what, a year and a half now, 2 years almost.
A year and a half, 2 years,
something like that.
Something like that. Probably about a year and a half. Yeah.
Everybody has talked about the shooting till they were blue in the face, and we had to touch on that because I think it's kind of fucked up that they blatantly assassinated an American citizen when he was trying to fucking surrender on a video. But that's... Yeah.
It's par for the course in this country, isn't it?
On that night, among the people arrested, well, here you go. Before we even move on from that, the girl, Victoria, in the car, they didn't know she was in the vehicle until the first stop. They thought it was just Ryan Bundy, Lavoy Finicum, Shauna Cox, and Ryan Payne. And Ryan Payne got out the first stop. That's when they found out that there was an 18-year-old girl in the car who is innocent. She was a Christian singer. She was there with her family to perform for them at the town meeting, and she hitched a ride in that truck because she was running late. So they took off, and according to her testimony, at the stop where they shot Lavoy, they unloaded into that truck afterwards, and she honestly believes they were trying to kill everyone in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And the way they set it up, the way this ambush was set up, you have to see the video, dude. The feds knew they were forcing them into a kill box.
Yeah.
There's been like military and militia people commenting on it. All of them use the word kill box because the formation that these vehicles were in forced him into a death or almost death situation.
I know. It reminds me of what happened personally to my own family member, where it was almost like there was a massive overuse of force, and it was almost blatantly obvious that you were just trying to kill him. And it's like, why are you just trying to kill him? And it's like, it's weird because you would think if you pay close enough attention to it, you're like, you can see right through that they're just trying to kill him. And it's like, that makes you look bad. And it's like, what are you trying to hide by trying to kill these motherfuckers? You know what I'm saying? But people who aren't really paying attention are like, oh shit, they really tried to kill him, man. They must have been justified. They must have been some real terrorist
you know what?
type motherfuckers.
What's funny, if you look at Lavoy Finicum's...
like that, you know?
I actually looked at Lavoy Finicum's YouTube channel.
We don't question enough.
From what I can tell from his videos, was a kind, wholesome family man with deep religious beliefs that was having real fucking issues with the Bureau of Land Management and speaking out about it and educating people on their constitutional rights to fight it. And I think that's why they killed him like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I say the time
because his message was getting out.
I say the time travel shit because the whole thing is like it's just insane how like crazy the whole entire shit gets.
Well, they're calling the girl Victoria on like YouTube and social media. They're calling her the Mockingjay.
Oh my god.
She kind of looks like she could fit that role.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even remember anything about Hunger Games anymore. I purposely forgot. And I'm happy about it.
You know what I remember about Hunger Games? District 12 looked like Oregon.
Ooh.
Oh!
Hey!
Oh, shit!
Couldn't you buy your way into, like, better districts and shit?
No, I think it was kind of like you were either... I think you were either in or you were out is kind of how it was. I don't think you could really buy your way in.
I'm thinking about the movie In Time with Justin Timberlake. You ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh, what? Where instead of having money, everybody lives off of time, and when your timer runs out, you die?
Oh.
What? You never seen that? It's like a timer that's on your arm.
If they ever do that, I will fucking put... No, I'm not partaking in that.
You have to. You're born into it. Everybody's born with a timer in their arm.
Gotta love it.
Isn't that crazy? I think they put it in at birth or whatever.
Okay, well, that night... when that shooting happened and all was said and done by the end of that night, taken into custody were Ammon Bundy, Ryan Bundy, Jason Patrick, Brian Cavalier, Ryan Payne, Joseph O'Shaughnessy, John Ritzheimer, Shauna Cox, and journalist Pete Santilli. Radio journalist, YouTube personality, almost shock jock. Well, he described himself as a shock jock. Yeah, he says some pretty fucked up anti-government stuff sometimes, but... really, he's being held without bail, facing the exact same charges as everyone else I just named.
Yeah.
He never had a gun up there. He did not stay in the refuge. He was streaming live like 12 hours a day, and that's it. He had a mouth and a bullhorn and a camera.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. And all I can really say is, like, that we can try and, like, really pinpoint why exactly they're holding him. All I can really say is when you rub the government the wrong way, they can make your life hell. And that includes holding you in a jail cell without any word of what's going on with you or anything.
They're citing...
a couple months
the judge is using, stuff he said on his show, 6 years ago as a reason to deny him bail.
Yep.
So they're saying he's a flight risk, he's he's a threat to federal agents.
I don't know if you wonder, you probably understand better than I think you do. But why I wanted to not move completely away from it, but focus a little more on Ripley's Believe It or Not and paranormal and crazy kind of shit, UFOs, shit like that, is so that if ever one day in the future some shit were to go down and for some reason I was implicated in that shit and they try and look back at all the different shit, all the shit that we put out on our shows, and I felt this way sometimes. It's like there's gonna be
the Jade Helm episode.
I always wanted to have one fan who's like, "Holy shit, I need to watch all this shit. I want to watch every episode from beginning to end. I'm gonna watch every single one." Well, that's never gonna happen. What's gonna end up happening is there's gonna be some government agent who's gonna be given a week to watch all of the fucking episodes of fucking all of fucking podcasts I've ever done. Right? Well.
Oh, God bless you, sir.
I don't want them to be able to come to me and say, for the past 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it's been, you've been doing straight up conspiracy and political shit. And in all reality, no matter what, if you do conspiracy shit and you make videos about conspiracy shit, there's almost a guaranteed chance that you're going to stumble across some shit that they don't want out there. Okay? And if they find that
the Jade Helm episode
said that shit, they're not going to pinpoint that shit and say, this is what we're going to charge him with or this or that. No. They're going to take that and say, okay, you were putting out shit we didn't want you to put out. Now we're going to go through and find some of the ridiculous shit that you said, and we're going to twist it into fucking ways that how it was fucking not meant to be, and take shit that you said out of context. And you said I got to go fucking drop a bomb when you got to go to the bathroom. Well, we're going to fucking take that out of context and say you're a fucking terrorist or some shit, or that you are interested in dropping bombs or some shit. You know what I'm saying? They'll take all your shit. And that's probably what they're doing with Pete Santilli, taking some of his shit out of context and saying, you know what, this guy's dangerous. He's trying to stir up revolt, or he's trying to stir up sedition. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It'll probably end up being sedition charges. That's usually what they do for conspiracy theorists or people who are activists or shit like that, is that they're trying to basically stir up anti-American sentiment in the country.
Charge was conspiracy to impede a federal officer from discharging his duties through the use of force, intimidation, and threats.
I think their video is done. It was nice, folks.
Oh, that happens.
Yep. So,
anyway, that's the charge.
Yeah, and that charge could change. That charge could stay the same, but I see Pete Santilli, unless you know anything different, I see him being in jail for at least another month. At least.
Well, oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, wait till the frost is gone, and then maybe you can start thinking about him coming out.
But that's a federal felony, and he could face up to 6 years in prison if found guilty.
He won't though, because he's got a voice. He's got a voice out there, and for some reason, if you've got a voice out there, and that's what kind of like almost protects us in a certain way, because if you have a voice out there, they know that it's not guaranteed, but there's a chance that that the government will stir up some shit that they weren't even ready for by locking up a YouTube activist for that's much different than an Edward Snowden.
Yeah, he wasn't leaking
Julian
classified
Assange.
documents.
Exactly.
He was
somebody just using their right to free speech.
Yeah, he said some pretty wild stuff at times, but a lot of it had to be said.
Hold on, but has every right to say.
Yep.
That's the type of person where they're like, all right, well, we got to kind of like let this person go. You know what I'm saying? They're not. If we don't let this person go, by default, there's going to be almost an international outcry. Why are we holding journalists, American journalists, whether it be a YouTube journalist or not, why are we holding American journalists in jail for reporting on news? That's what Iran does. That's what Iraq does. Or that's what Iraq did. That's what fucking North Korea does. We don't do that. We're not a fucking fascist state like that. That would almost like a light switch flick people over to like, holy shit, we're in a fascist state. So it's like he'll be in there for a couple more months, but they won't hold him longer than a year. And I thought they were going to hold Adam Kokesh, and then I came to the exact same realization. It's like the longer they hold him, the more
powerful
there is. There's more rumbling that you're hearing, and it's not rumbling from conspiracy sites. It's rumbling from like an editorial on Newsweek or some shit, or in the Wall Street Journal of somebody talking about this YouTube guy who's in jail by his own government for doing nothing but speaking his mind.
What's actually fucked up about it, I should say, is he appealed that decision, and a federal judge ruled to uphold it.
Yeah.
Now the ACLU jumped on board. The ACLU of Oregon's getting behind this now.
See, I think this is how they get motherfuckers on board. On board with, if you say this, or if you try and report on this a little too much, we're gonna be on your back. If you want to report on this kind of shit, we're not. If you want to report on politics and the Democrats and the Republicans and what's going on with the debates and this and that, hey, we're not going to bother you whatsoever. But when you start reporting on disputes between a government agency and a group of militiamen or farmers, whatever the hell you want to call them, when you start reporting on that and you want to get in depth on that and sharing that with the public and trying to share that with hundreds of thousands, if not a few million people, we're going to have a little bit of an issue. Because that's the type of shit that we want to control. You're trying to add variables into the shit that we're not willing to allow into this shit. You know, if you want to, you have a voice. You're allowed to have a voice on certain things. Now, on this, you're not. Especially, you're not allowed to go out there and fucking report on
his show. He did say he said he wanted people to come out, but he emphasized he wanted them to come out unarmed and protest, not come out with your guns and aid and abet taking over a federal building.
Yeah, no, I think it was only just the fact that he was involved the fact that he's involved. It's
He was at the original Bundy Ranch too, so
let's
it
just
might
put
be
this way.
another.
If me and you were here, perfect example. Did Alex Jones go out?
He sent Joe Biggs.
people.
He sent people, but he
sent
didn't
people.
go.
But did Alex Jones go out?
No, he did not.
No. See, you don't. When you're a big name like that, and that's what I'm saying. If that was me and you, and let's just say a year from now, this fucking our YouTube channel's got 1 million subscribers. Somehow it fucking took off. We had like 2 or 3 shows in a row where it was just like, holy shit, people are loving it, and we got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of views. Holy shit, we're blowing the fuck up. First time we go out and put our heads in some shit that we don't. The sad part is we don't get to see the list of what we're allowed to stick our heads into and what we're not allowed to stick our heads into. We're only allowed to see that list until after we've stuck our heads into something we're not allowed to stick our heads into, and we've stuck it too far, and they've had to arrest us and lock us up for a couple months to scare us. Then they show us that list and say, be on your merry way. Don't talk about the things you're not allowed to talk about. And
have a nice day, Pete. Don't mention the BLM ever again.
Memorize this list. Here we go. We're burning it up. Hopefully you've memorized it. Try not to talk about the shit that you're not supposed to be talking about. Try not to get involved in shit you're not supposed to be getting involved with, okay? You don't want to, if you're going to show up at the gates of Area 51 and start calling hundreds of people to Area 51, anybody who does that, whether you have hundreds of thousands of viewers or it's me or you with fucking hundreds of viewers, right? Anybody who does that, you start calling for fucking protesters at the gates of Area 51, you're getting locked up, and anybody who shows up is getting locked up. And they're gonna lock you up on some stupid ass charges for a few months, scare you to fucking death, treat you like shit, to threaten to throw you in Guantanamo where you may never fucking come out again. Then they'll finally release you once you fucking pissed your pants enough times, and they'll fucking say, never fuck with us again. If you're not smart enough to know what shit you can fuck with and you can't fuck with, then don't even fucking be involved in this shit whatsoever. Now go fucking go talk about your libertarian candidate, because that's the type of shit you're allowed to talk about. You start talking about fucking government land management and shit like that, that's like fucking Wall Street shit. If anybody,
well, he did talk about. One thing he also talked about was the connection to Hillary Clinton to Uranium One and the uranium minerals in that land the BLM was stealing from the Hammons.
There's a level of conspiracy shit where once you hit a certain level of having viewership, if you start hitting on this other level of conspiracy shit, they're going to come after you, and they're either going to make your life
next week. Why we got to abolish the Federal Reserve?
Some MK Ultra shit to make you start losing your fucking mind. They're either going to fucking lock you up on some weird fucking charges. They're going to fucking do some fucking crazy shit to your life if you start fucking with that other level of shit. If you fuck with the shit that's lower level of shit, you want to talk about Detroit's water and how that's fucked up and how that could even be allowed to happen, and some lower level fucking political fucking conspiracy shit, go right the fuck ahead. But when you start jumping up ahead and you want to start talking about the fucking NSA and start really accusing the NSA of shit, why do you think nobody really fucking goes too deep on the fucking NSA? Why does nobody go too deep on the NSA? Because if you really look into the NSA shit, you start to realize it's like, oh, if I want to protect myself from the NSA, I should start using the Tor browser. But then you come to fucking the realization that the NSA invented the Tor browser and then made it a public entity, or made it a public thing to use, and claimed that they weren't using it anymore themselves. But they invented the fucking Tor browser. And there's been people that have clear as day seen in the Tor programming that when you download the Tor browser, there's a fucking signal sent to the fucking NSA. And the NSA, from that point on, anything you're fucking looking at on the fucking Tor browser, the NSA has fucking access to. So it's almost like if you're trying to hide shit from the NSA, they have it set up so that they see what you're trying to hide. So as soon as you're trying to hide something from them, it's like everything is open to them. Okay? But if you're really trying to hide from them, if you're not really trying to hide anything from them, then they're not really interested in anything that you've got going on. Hence how there's fucking terrorists who just slip under the cracks, because they're not really trying to hide anything. You know what I'm saying? They're either too stupid or too smart to fucking know to try and use these secret encrypted methods and this and that. It's like, no, the NSA's already got fucking back doors on all that shit. People don't think about that kind of shit, that they're on top of their shit, you know? I don't even know where I started with that, but that's
a lot of shit.
The Tor shit is very true. People use Tor, and I always kind of thought about that. I was like, there's no technological fucking advancement out there that us normal civilians and citizens are using that are able to fully hide our communications or our activity from our digital activity or electronic activity, there's no a way of encrypting that so that the highest level of technical achievement or the highest level of technical advancement in our U.S. government isn't able to see it. There's no way. And I've always thought it's like if you're going to try and hide, then they're probably going to want to know what you're looking at. And they're either don't have access to it and they're going to put you on a list where one day they're going to come kicking down your door and stealing your computer so that they can see what you've been looking at, or that's a little bit of a pain in the ass, they could have it just set up. And once I learned Tor browser was invented by them, I was like, holy shit, it's definitely true. They could just have it set up, so as soon as you start trying to hide shit from them, or you start acting like you have anything to hide from them, they're getting a fucking signal, and anything you do from there forward. I've even heard that if you type Tor browser download into Google, from that point forward, NSA has like a tracker on everything you fucking look at. Every single thing.
The fuck?
Exactly. Because it's like 99% of the people that are using Tor are using it to hide their communication and hide their activity from somebody. Whether it be a government agency or somebody personal or somebody in their job or whatever it is. That's the information they want. The shit that people are, who wants the shit that's out in the open?
That is so 1984, it's not even funny.
It is, but that's the way it is. And probably because I'm talking about it, which I already believe there's probably a tracker on me, but probably because I'm talking about it, there's a tracker on me. I'm talking about Tor browser. And not just talking about Tor browser and how it's like, you can use Tor browser to go check out Silk Road. How the fuck do you think they busted Silk Road, dude? Silk Road was completely through Tor browser. Everything was encrypted. All communications were like through a 100-point encryption system or some shit that nobody was supposed to be able to break. How the fuck did they bust fucking, what do you call it? One, because they had fake fucking users. NSA fucking had fake users.
Oh, yeah, they're known for
FBI
that.
And CIA had fake users on the Silk Road. But two,
they do that with everything. They do that with, like, chats on, like, the Santilli show.
They were being
it's ridiculous.
sent signals every time that dude, the dude that was fucking running, I can't remember his name, fucking dude that was running it, fucking Dread Pirate 5 or Dread Pirate Roberts, right? Every time that he was logging in, the NSA was getting signals. And getting signals of who he was. They just couldn't attach those signals because they're kind of like not random. They just don't have labels on them as well, right? But they still have information, right? They can't attach those signals to somebody's identity. They can attach it to an IP address, a certain computer.
Okay.
But as far as somebody's identity, it's a little bit harder. But as soon as somebody using that computer gives out their identity, and what basically the guy did was using his computer, gave out his email address on the Silk Road. Like when it first began, gave out his email address on the Silk Road. But since he used that computer, they were getting hits from Dread Pirate Roberts, right? And on those hits, it linked back to the computer that email address was typed in on. That email address was typed in on Silk Road, right? So they linked the two together, and now they have the identity of who it is, of who they're looking for. So now they know who to look for, and as soon as they can start tracking the pings of every time this person logs on to Tor or logs on to Silk Road using Tor, they can fucking start tracking the pings of that person and figure out where they're at. That's exactly what they did. They walked into the library that the dude was sitting in, because he fucking walked into the library, fucking nobody had any idea that he was fucking involved in any shit. But he walked into the library, opened up his laptop, logged into fucking Silk Road on Tor, and within like 5 minutes the NSA walked in and arrested him. Because they knew exactly where he was. They've got a fucking like lock on all of that shit. And I was like, hold on, why are they allowing drugs to be sold? Who allows drugs to be sold? The government.
Well, the CIA imports them, and then the FBI makes money busting them.
The drug king. Exactly. So I was like, Silk Road, how come nobody's shutting this shit down? I don't want to hear, oh, we can't shut it down. It's hidden and this and that. Even though, yeah, in a sense it was somewhat hidden well. They still wanted it to be open. They still liked the idea. That's what Tor was made. Now all of a sudden they have all these names and all these connections and all these IP addresses of people who are involved in fucked up shit. Whether it's you want to use that for blackmail, you want to use that for so many different things. You can fuck up people's lives. If they start speaking out on things, you can fuck up their lives. Why do you think they built that giant fucking database out in fucking Colorado or wherever the fuck it's at? The giant, like, fucking...
The Fusion Center?
No, not the Fusion Center, the fucking data center.
Oh,
they built a data center that's like acres and acres and acres huge, and it's just storage. Just data storage. See, a lot of people like to think, oh, because they're saving our phone calls and they're this and that. No, I don't really think so. I think they're saving logs of phone calls of who we talk to because that's easy to fucking save. That's not going to take up fucking terabytes of fucking data. You save text logs of people's phone calls of times and who they've called and what numbers they've called, how many times and this and that, and then that shit can be saved in like a fucking less than 1 megabyte file. When you start saving the sound files of people's phone calls, that's different. You can just monitor that fucking people's phone calls with a sophisticated fucking computer system or some shit to kind of pick up on certain words and shit.
Yeah, you have those, like the Echelon program that
exactly.
pick out keywords here and there.
But that data shit is used to store data on people like me and you, so when it comes time to fucking blackmail us, it's like, we've got all this
no, you know what?
that you didn't even know.
No, because you know what takes up a lot of space? Trapwire. You familiar with Trapwire?
Trapwire rings a bell.
They use it in a lot of big cities. I don't know if it's around here yet, but it's it ties into all the CCTV in the area. Like everybody's security cameras from gas stations, train stations, everything tied in, pulled up on your screen in real time.
I've heard about Trapwire, and I'm still skeptical about Trapwire myself, coming from the CCTV field myself. I'm very skeptical about Trapwire. I know there are citywide CCTV systems. I've been interested.
London being a major one.
I've been interested in
good
actually
example
installing them because I don't believe that they have to be. I don't believe that the whole I feel like I'm being watched thing has to be a real thing. One, I feel like we can put cameras that aren't like we can put cameras in anything, and you don't have to call it a hidden camera just because you don't see it. And the cameras don't need to. Here's the problem: is things like that can always be abused. But the cameras can be completely autonomous to pick up crime and shit like that. They don't need to have a person behind the camera. It doesn't need to have somebody watching. A camera itself with a computer hooked up to it can see a crime happening and call the police and dispatch the police to that crime without one person ever even seeing that video, or send the video to the police for them to delegate whether or not that is actually a crime happening, or the computer's just malfunctioning or seeing something it thinks it's seeing but it's really not. You know what I'm saying? But with Trapwire is, even to this day, and I know it's definitely changing, so it's probably much more likely than it was 5 or 10 years ago. You have a lot of CCTV systems that are still not integrated to the internet. And that type of a system could not be integrated with every single system. It can only be integrated with the systems that are connected through the internet, and only be integrated with the systems that are connected through the internet with some sort of a geotag, I guess you would have to say. It's not really a geotag like you would think attached to a picture, but some sort of a digital signature or digital location signature inside of the DVR, which they do not have. The only other way that I could think that they could do that, which basically means a DVR, there's nothing inside the DVR that says, this is where I'm at. Like, you could pull up pictures, but if you ever look at, like, random webcam pictures online, you have no idea where the fuck that webcam is really taking a picture of. You know what I'm saying? You're just seeing a snapshot of a certain section, you know what I'm saying? So, for that, the only way that they could do that, and it is possible, is through IP addresses. And gather all the IP addresses and to run that through a filtering program that filters out every IP address that is running a camera system on it in a certain geographic location. And then you can pull all of them up, but it's never, I don't say never, but at least for another 10 or 15 years until all your mom and pop shops and every place like that gets updated camera systems, it's not going to be able, unless it's connected to the internet, it's only going to be able to hook up those. So all the cameras that are connected to the internet, which you would think a lot of them are, but there's still a lot that aren't, they're not going to be picked up on the Trapwire system. But the Trapwire system, I could see how that could work. And all of the, because that's something that's been pushed for over the past 10 years, is connect to your DVR. And it's so funny how much they push it, being in that industry.
Well, look at the Xbox Connect and the Xbox One.
Yeah, of course. There was just an article that came out on like Newsweek or something, not a conspiracy site, Newsweek or something, talking about how Samsung has now released a press release or a press statement saying that don't talk about your private information or your private life around your Samsung, or I think it was Panasonic, not Samsung, around your Panasonic smart TV, because it's recording. It is always recording your voice and always sending that recorded voice and that recorded, sound back to Samsung, constantly like streaming your live sound from your living room or whatever's around the TV back to Samsung.
And they said, if you're worried about your privacy, then don't talk about your private stuff around your TV because you can't turn that feature off on their TVs. And it's like,
I don't like that very much.
Isn't that crazy? But you know
That's 1984.
You know what the answer to TV to stuff like that is? When you look for stuff...
1776.
And that's why the Internet of Things has been pushed on people, and integrating all your stuff and integrating your locks. And why do you think that anybody should be interested in having their front door locks hooked up to the Internet? Why do you think anybody should be interested in that? It's not so for convenience. It's not pushed on people for convenience. Of course, those companies want to make money. I'm not saying they don't. But that's pushed on people so that at one day in the future, some government agency can walk around with their little Wi-Fi freaking unlocker and unlock people's shit. You know what I'm saying? Clink, clink. All right, I'm at blah, blah, blah. All right, can you type this into our Trapwire system, our Trapwire 3.0 system? Here it is, 2022. We got Trapwire 3.0 that's tied into people's Internet of Things. Or you can start fucking with people's shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's a big concern with. That's a huge concern with people with like medical problems with pacemakers that work over the internet.
Yeah, I only got like one left, dude. Or two left. You want a brown cigarette? You got cigarettes?
Oh yeah. But
what?
But they did a.
No, I ain't getting you. You're insane.
They did an episode of Homeland where they mention. Where basically the dude kills the vice president or the secretary of defense or something because he has one of those pacemakers and they hack into it. So that was... We had a random knock at the door, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's fucking... I'd much rather see a random act of kindness than a random knock on the door, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, so... Anyway... That show Homeland did an episode where they hack into like the vice president or secretary of defense's pacemaker and kill him.
Yeah, but that's also like when you think of something like Trapwire, okay? I know from experience. I can't really tell you how or what my experience is because it is actually a something that could end up getting me in some sort of a random car accident one day.
Oh, one of those.
Nick's no longer around to tell his story. But I know from experience that basically how we're told everything is at a technological level where like Trapwire, where they're streaming all the cameras to a city, like all the cameras in a city or all the CCTV cameras in a city. Sorry about that, folks.
That's like a musical tour thing.
Got a little bit of a hiccup there, a little technical differences. Sorry about that. So, what were we saying, Brian?
We were, I believe, talking about holding a journalist without bail for something he said.
Yeah, that's not right in the United States. You can't hold somebody.
The judge even said that the quote that he had about wanting to shoot Hillary in the vagina, even that wasn't enough to hold him. But he had said so many anti-government things and talked about shooting feds if they ever came to his house. Legally, Oregon state law, he can do that if they come into his house and pose a threat.
Yeah, but he's
without
talking
a warrant.
about shooting. But he was talking about shooting a police officer. So legally, you are allowed to do that. But are you legally allowed to state that you intend to shoot a police officer in any circumstance? Are you allowed to state that? You may be able to feel that or think that, but are you allowed to publicly state that you will shoot a police officer in any circumstance? A federal officer or a local officer, if you were to state that. Because I know anytime I've heard anybody even remotely say that they were going to inflict any kind of harm on a police officer just from watching Cops, they get
in a heartbeat. They're done like, down.
Yeah, what did you just say to me? What did you just say? Okay, all right, and they're like, you're fucked then. You're fucked. You're saying you're gonna fuck up a police officer? It's like, all right, we'll see. Okay, I got
But that's not really what he said.
Yeah.
It's context. But anyway,
that's what I'm saying. I
the
think
last thing was
Pete Santilli shit is being taken out of context in order to keep him locked up.
I could see that.
Able to lock him up indefinitely. which it looks like right now he's locked up indefinitely, right? Is there any word as to when he could possibly be out?
No, he was denied bail pre-trial.
Reminds me of Adam Kokesh situation. It was like, holy shit, you rub the government the wrong way. No matter what you do, you're fucked for a while. They will literally take your life away from you for a few months, or maybe even a whole year of your life, and then tell you, watch what the fuck you say, or we'll do it again. We won't hesitate to do it again, or next time nobody will fucking, you'll disappear, and 10 years later they'll fucking dig up your bones in the middle of a field in fucking Wisconsin or some shit. So you watch what the fuck you say. And it's like they literally scare the shit out of you, because, and I think that's what happened to Charlie Bache. Charlie Bache was a big fucking supporter of a lot of he just talked a lot of sense, kind of like we do, right? But he also was a supporter of 9/11, and not a supporter of 9/11, supporter of 9/11 conspiracy theories, or alternate explanations for what happened other than what the 9/11 what do you call it, report says, 9/11 Commission report says, right? Well, one day, all out of the blue, Charlie Bache visited New York and openly said on a video that he visited with some people that were working on the new World Trade Center building, and had visited also with some firefighters and emergency responders that had showed up at 9/11 and had worked at 9/11 or worked out at the disaster site. And he has a change of heart after talking to them and talking to them about what he believed could be some of the reasons it came down, which weren't any of the official reasons why they said the towers came down. He said, after talking to them, I have a change of heart, and I believe the official story now. And so many people came out and said, you fucking shill, you sold out, blah, blah, blah. And my immediate thought was, what would you do if you went to visit some city where you've been wanting to visit for a long time? You know, like some big event happened there 10 years ago that a lot of people that you're a social commentator and you social commentate on that particular event. So you're going to that city. Well, what would you do if you went to that city and you had 4 or 5 videos planned of how you're going to go to this location and talk about this, and you know, and there was no tower hit Building 7, or why'd that come down? And all of a sudden somebody says, hey Charlie, you've been invited into the new World Trade Center. They couple of the guys, the construction guys, you've been invited to come in and talk to them, and a couple of developers and this and that. And all of a sudden you walk in and there's no construction guys there. There's just nothing but suits. And you walk up to these suits and they say, come with us, Charlie. And all of a sudden you walk into this room and it's like, how the hell do they have a room that's a fully finished office or some shit like that, and the rest of the place isn't even like really, ground hasn't even been broken, but they've got like a fully finished fucking luxury office here, fucking underground shit, something like that, right? It starts to get creepy right away is basically what I'm saying, right? They pull you into this room and they say, hey, listen, if you want to keep doing what you're doing and gaining the popularity and the steam that you're gaining, the more power to you. That's awesome. But we'd also like to just give you a little snapshot of what your life could look like 5 years from now. And they showed him, basically they either one showed him dead, or two showed him in jail and studying certain conspiracy theories that they deem are the next level of conspiracy theories, studying certain conspiracy theories where he's basically like an outcast. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, there's certain conspiracy theories you study, you start to become somewhat of an outcast. You really start studying Area 51 and UFOs and shit like that, you start to become an outcast, because not everybody and their mother really wants to get into detail about that shit. They don't mind talking about the weird thing they saw in the sky when they were 10 years old. But when they start talking to you, you start talking about detail and the bodies they're hiding underneath the Broom Lake and this and that. It's like, then people start looking at you with glazed look in their eyes, like, you're kind of crazy. That's, maybe they showed him that, like, your life. And also, he's sitting in jail because he researched something he wasn't supposed to be researching, or he talked out about something he wasn't supposed to talk out about, and they have him in jail indefinitely because of that. And he has no idea when he's going to get out, and if he does get out, whether or not he's going to have the same quality of life, or if he's going to have a criminal record, or what have you. And it's like, at the time, Charlie Bache had nothing wrong with his life. There was nothing wrong with Charlie Bache's life.
That's another thing they said, even in the charges against Pete Santilli, he has no record. The only charge ever brought against him was dropped.
So there's nothing wrong with the life. And see, that's
he has a clean record, no history of violence.
Charlie Bache only put out videos. Charlie Bache didn't, oh, well, there's this going on, so I got to go there and do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
he learned his lesson. I think there was a week before the royal wedding, he was posting videos saying that the day of the royal wedding he was going to go protest. And like 3 or 4 days before the royal wedding, Scottish Yard showed up and took him down and basically slapped sense into him and said, if you show up, you're going to be arrested. You're going to be detained indefinitely. You're going to be almost viewed as a traitor to this country, and you'll be treated that way legally, and yada yada. And they were like, basically, we're gonna fuck over your life if you show up and try and protest the fucking wedding, the royal fucking wedding. You know what I'm saying? So and they kept him for the whole shit. It's not like they fucking said, if you do this shit, you're fucked. I'm pretty sure they kept him through the day of the royal wedding, and then after the royal wedding was over, they let him out. You know, and we're like, go fucking home. Don't even try some shit. Go home. You know what I'm saying? But after that, I'd never seen him, and that was like the only thing that I ever seen him like going out to. And it's not like he just went out and took video. He was saying that he was going to go out, and if anybody wanted to join him, of course nobody in London wants to fucking disrupt the royal wedding. They know they're just fucking asking for trouble, right? Well, after that, he never went out to any shit. So with that type of person, with Pete Santilli, all right, well, when he goes out to some shit, he's going to get himself involved in some shit. Well, then that gives us our opportunity to tell him not to talk about shit. Either kill him or tell him not to talk about shit. With Charlie Bates, you don't really have that opportunity. All he does is films videos. Well, shit, he came to America. And he came to basically the capital of America, fucking New York City. Let's fucking see if we can get a hold of him now. Let's see if we can talk to him now. We know he's going to be hanging out outside the World Trade Center building. What if we have a few people scouting out for him, and we're ready for him, and when we see him, we say, hey, Charlie, we want to invite you in to come take a look at the construction of the new tower. You know?
It's possible.
So I'm saying, I think the same thing could happen to fucking Pete Santilli here.
Well, we're coming close to the end, so...
he's going to come out of jail with a change of heart. Watch.
He might. But, we're coming close to the end, so the Oregon standoff came to an end this past week. It was around 5 p.m. Western time on the night of February 10th. David Fry, using the cell phone given to him by the FBI, ironically enough, for negotiation purposes.
No such thing as coincidence.
Well, all the other phones have been shut off. They were using that one to negotiate through. But
okay, to negotiate. I thought they were streaming from.
Oh, no. He called Gavin Seam, or Same, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, S-E-I-M. Called him and said, yo, I'm surrounded by feds. They're moving in on me. They got MRAPs and shit and drones and stuff. Dude put it instantly, live stream on YouTube. That went on all night while an assemblywoman from Nevada, Michelle Fiore, was on her way there to negotiate release, a peaceful release. This Fed negotiator is there trying to bait them into a firefight live on the air on YouTube, and he knew he was on the air because they told him repeatedly, this is being streamed to 70,000 people right now. And they, at one point, they pretty much proved that the FBI guys were listening into the YouTube stream. So it's like, he's still there on the air baiting these 3 guys and a woman. And finally, the next morning, 3 of them walked out with the assemblywoman. They made an agreement the night before, and for the first time ever, probably, the FBI honored the agreement.
She's Reverend Jesse Jackson on them, right?
Well, she got the first 3 to walk out, and then David Fry, held out for another 5 hours, threatened to shoot himself, threatened to shoot feds, threatened to shoot the cops, threatened to shoot everybody, complaining that he wanted his weed. He was freaking out, though. He was scared. You could tell he was scared shitless.
Okay.
Finally, he came out and everything came to an end. But it was that's kind of history making, the way the feds let that happen and didn't roll in with their 9 or 5 MRAPs,
I think
snipers on the hill.
They were told throughout the whole entire process by who, I don't know, probably just the higher ups, do not turn this into another Waco. If this is another Waco, everybody gets fired. I'm like, fuck. Like, what are we out here for? You know what I'm saying? Shit, we just gotta sit here and wait? That sucks.
Yeah.
Think about the actual, guys working out there, you know? The guys our age just fucking looking for a little bit of action. That's why they joined the shit. This sucks. We just gotta sit here and wait. Ugh. Why can't we just fucking fire off a couple fucking smoke bombs into that?
Because if they would have done that, those 4 people would have defended themselves, because at that point they're being fired upon, even if it's a smoke bomb.
Yeah.
And then who knows what that would have sparked off.
Yeah, I'm personally very surprised to see that it ended as peacefully as it did.
Well, luckily, when Ammon Bundy got arrested, he put out a statement through his lawyer saying, "Stand down, everybody. Go home. End it." And they were the only 4 that stayed. All the militias left. Everybody left.
Yeah, and that's when it was smart to leave, you know?
Yeah, because they kept, even after that, even after everyone left, they still told him, like, if you want to leave, leave now. We're letting you go.
Yeah.
You can go. Leave.
Yeah, I'd have been out. If I had been stupid enough to show up, I'd have been smart enough to leave then.
Yeah, they're still picking people up back home now, wherever they went.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
They got John Ritzheimer in Arizona.
Yeah. You gotta be careful who you deal with in all reality. The grand lesson of the lesson that can be taught to all the kids listening today is you gotta be careful of who you hang out with and where you hang out. And who's pulling you into what. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you might think you're being pulled into a really good cause, but it could end up in nothing coming from that cause. Like no actual discernible change or anything coming from that cause, and you and your cronies.
I think that's part of the thing is what happened with it. It made it public that there's people that are pissed off and it exposed that the government's doing some fucked up shit, and here they just shot this guy for no reason. Quote unquote, of course they can't have him talking, but then the other side of that is the way once Ammon started getting into things more, and even after he was in jail, it became less about the land rights issue and more about the gun rights. Yeah. So it's like their original message is lost on the majority of Americans.
It got subverted or it got perverted by somebody or something. Exactly. And I think it was supposed to end up being turned into some much bigger issue. And imagine, put it this way.
If the Bundy Ranch turnout would have happened with like 50,000 people.
If they lit up that car and they killed every single person in that car. Imagine how pissed off people would be at the massive use of force. Regardless of what the story, of course they'd probably put out a story saying that somebody was shooting out the car. But even they'd put out that video too to contradict it, and people would just be pissed. And you'd have fucking militias fucking with the rallying call, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, the other night when during that, from the 10th going into the 11th, the overnight hours, I saw through social media about 13 different militia pages post immediate call to arms. This is not a drill. This is a call to arms. Yeah. Because they were really afraid the feds were going to roll in overnight and kill those 4 people. Yeah.
And also,
here's what's stupid. I got to call this guy out for being stupid. Cliven Bundy went on the Bundy Ranch Facebook page. I'm on my way right now to Oregon. Now, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, he got arrested right off.
SWAT surrounded him as soon as he got off the plane.
Yeah. If he was smart, he wouldn't have taken a damn plane. But that still wouldn't have been the smartest thing.
Well, that's coming from Bunkerville, Nevada to Portland Airport. That's a hike.
That's a hike, but he should have just gotten a bus or a bus or a truck or some shit together, a few guys, and come on, road trip, guys. Shit, you can get across the country in like 5-6 days. He's only going from the bottom to the top. He could do that in 3. Yeah. Trying to fly out, Mr. in my private jet. Fuck that shit. All right, bro. We gotta fucking.
We gotta wrap it up. Unfortunately.
Oh man, so much knowledge.
I will say one thing. During the live stream, when David Fry was on the phone that morning holding out, he did put out a lot of interesting stuff that a lot of people who might have been tuning into that, who weren't too familiar, might have been hearing for the first time. He's calling out the feds for, why you guys letting Obama let these ISIS refugees come into our country? He was saying some pretty good shit out. He was putting some truth out there.
Nice.
So he's calling him out for allowing Obama to commit crimes against the state.
Boy.
It's like, why are you here trying to arrest us? Why don't you go arrest Obama?
Yeah, he was definitely freaking out then. Yeah, he was grasping for straws, even though I'm not saying he's wrong. He's probably right in more ways than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, if you're completely surrounded with snipers and MRAPs, I mean, what would you do? For real.
I'd put my fucking head between my knees and kiss my ass goodbye.
I'd like to think that we would be stronger than that, but no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'm honest.
I'd get in the bathtub. Alright, kids. It's been a wonderful episode. Fucking... You give us an hour and 33 minutes will give you the world.
OCP,
Yep. I don't know. OCP.
Omni Consumer Products.
Oh, yeah? Did they say that?
They had a similar one, I think.
That's what KYW says. I stole it from them.
It's you give us 3 minutes, we'll give you the world. It wasn't OCP. It was like a news. It was like a 3-minute news thing sponsored by OCP. Because of course in RoboCop, OCP owns everyone and everything. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time. What do you got? Everybody have a great weekend, great week, great day,
Year, month,
great year,
something.
great lifetime, a great eon, a great age, and
Era.
era. There you
Have a
go.
great era.
Great era. I don't know. Happy Valentine's Day. Everybody have a wonderful one.
By the time you hear this, it will no longer be Valentine's Day, but that's okay. It'll be Discount Chocolate Day.
We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. I'm hoping these are coming out on Wednesday, but they could be out sooner than that.
I'm hoping they're sooner than that.
But, next week we'll keep it a little bit shorter for you. But I think we're gonna we're gonna mix it up a little. We're gonna melt the pot a little.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have 2 or 3 different things to touch on for you. So we might even come back to Oregon too, because that seems to be like the everlasting gobstopper of the moment.
Right?
You know?
41-day siege, and now like they just recently,
flavors.
within the last few days, Ammon
Ben
and
Jerry's.
they were being held in solitary in 23-hour lockdown, which is a little extreme considering they never hurt anybody.
Not
so
extreme
they
when you
just
fuck with the government.
well, they just got moved out of solitary
Well, that's
into.
good. Well, that's good for them. Well, maybe they're listening to this. Maybe they're in the prison library listening to us right now. Like, oh shit, there's still people talking about us. Yes, we're talking about you. And hey, keep your heads up. Everything will get better. All right.
Your message got out.
Protect your cornhole, bud. All right. On that note, everybody have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week for brainstorming episode blank.
Episode like 80 something.
Brainstorming
Maybe
season
not.
2, episode 2.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey.
All right, kids. So have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Check us out on Facebook.com/WhereWeLiedTo. Brian McFadden on Facebook. Nick Tesla on Facebook.
YouTube.com/WhereWeLiedTo.
You got it, kids. And then Facebook.com/Brainstorming Podcast. Check it out. Do it up. Kiss your mother for me. It's Valentine's Day. Have a good one, folks.
Peace.
Peace.
I've got balls of steel.